Pirates don't have to make up our minds. This road trip is going to do it for us.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Locked On Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan. I've been covering the Pittsburgh Pirates for nearly a decade and been talking about this team through all the highs and lows and whatever this current season qualifies as. Today, we're looking at the 9-game road trip that could finally settle the question of whether the Pirates still belong in this race. Taking a look around baseball at first base production and where Pittsburgh stacks up. And then we'll get to your AMA questions, including how the Pirates can improve the most, whether anyone will be finally held accountable, and why I still love this team after all these years. We're going to do all that on today's episode of Locked On Pirates. It's going to be fun. So the Pirates are heading out on what I think could end up being the most important road trip of their season. Pretty clearly. 9 games, 3 against the Dodgers, 3 against the Padres, 3 against the Cardinals. And when they get on that plane home, I think we'll have our answer. Now, if you've listened to me over the last couple weeks, you've heard me use a qualifier when discussing the Pirates in the playoff race. And I've said they're not functionally in the race. And that word matters because mathematically they're hanging around enough that I haven't been willing to completely close the door. After this road trip, I don't think I'll need the qualifier anymore one way or the other. The teams they're facing make this pretty simple, right? Let's start with the Dodgers. Los Angeles is just 7-10 in August. They've lost series to Boston, Chicago, Arizona, and Milwaukee. They did sweep Kansas City. They just swept Colorado on the road. But this hasn't exactly been the unstoppable Dodgers machine we've seen at other points of the season. And yet, they're still comfortably leading the division. That's the difference between good teams and everybody else. You know, even during a rough stretch, the Dodgers aren't really sweating their position. Then there's San Diego. The Padres are 10-8 this month. They've won series against Houston and Milwaukee, gained a little ground in the NL West race, and they continue to sit right in the thick of the wild card picture. Finally, St. Louis. Cardinals have been the hottest of the three at 11-8. They've beaten the Yankees, Phillies, Cubs, and Rockies. They just took 3 of 5 from Cincinnati and capped off with a ridiculous 9th-inning comeback victory. Perhaps most importantly for this discussion, St. Louis is sitting just 2.5 games out of the final wild card spot. They're not chasing a miracle. They're chasing something a little more realistic. Meanwhile, the Pirates, 7-11 in August. That's the reality. And because they're playing 2 teams directly in front of them in the wild card standings, these games are worth even more than the schedule usually would suggest. So let's simplify this. If the Pirates somehow come out of this trip 7-2, okay. We've probably got a conversation. Maybe we're talking about some momentum. Maybe we're talking about some meaningful baseball deep into September. You know, maybe we're talking about a young team finally figuring it out, starting to get healthy in certain areas. Maybe you start dreaming on Connor Griffin coming back and playing well sometime early in September. And, you know, you can start convincing yourself of something. But if they come home 5-4 or worse, I'm probably still leaning towards talking about 2027. You know, I just think you got to stop talking about playoff odds entirely at that point. Because at that point, the question won't be whether they can still make a run. The question becomes, you know, what we've learned about this roster, this coaching staff, and the front office heading into the offseason. That's why I think this trip matters so much. The standings will tell us one story. The way they compete against these teams might tell us an even bigger one. But this is it. We've talked about, like, hey, you got to have some kind of a stretch at some point. And listen, math's going to disagree with me for a while. But if this road trip goes a certain way, I just don't know how you could even really look forward from that. There has to be better performances from people that haven't performed great. That's just a fact. The bloom is off the rose with some guys, a little bit. I think Esmerlin Valdez has gotten pushed back on, and I don't think he's done much to answer it aside from take his walks whenever they're available. And I think more often than not, he looks like he's more than happy with that being the outcome. But when he's getting challenged in the zone with fastballs, I think this is the most alarming thing. He's not catching them. Now, early on, he was hitting all of them, and he was even diving out over the plate to hit those away sliders, opposite field type home runs. And those sorts of things got taken away with those inside fastballs. It's not like they're throwing at Esmerlin Valdez because they think he's some rookie that deserves it because he hit a few home runs. I know that that's kind of the romantic baseball reason to throw at a guy like that, but the reason he's getting thrown at is because, well, a lot of his game and a lot of his success is diving out over the plate. So he's either going to get hit and he's going to stand in there and take it, or he's going to continue to tentatively dive in but not fully commit and therefore not catch up to the fastballs. That inside fastball, it's not even about having him swing and miss at it or swing and hit it. It's more about spooking him into standing up straight. If you can get him to stand up straight, he's not going to do better than that. That's got to change on this road trip. You've got to have a better if they decide to give Carmen Mlodzinski another start, you have got to have a better performance from Carmen Mlodzinski this time around. Even if he only gives you 3 or 4 innings, you'd take it. I mean, all we've ever really been asking Carmen Mlodzinski to do all along is to give us 2 or 3 good innings somewhere along the line. He wanted to do more than that. I'm not trying to hold him to that standard. Just give me what I wanted from you all along, Carmen. 2 or 3 good innings. That's it. Next time Paul Skeens goes through, get me 5. Get me 5 innings of something that looks like a ball game you're handing someone that can actually do something about it. There's got to be better performances from people. That's all. You can't have Brian Reynolds go cold for a week. You can't have O'Neal Cruz have a bad at bat and get the boo-boo face. Haven't seen it yet since he's come back. Don't want to see it. Need to start seeing the guys push the envelope, run the bases, make things happen. Play with the urgency that this road trip should present you with. Haven't seen it. I'm asking them to do something that I haven't seen them do all season long. And you know why? Because we've said all along, if they want to get where they want to get, at some point that stretch is going to have to come. For me, that stretch is right now. You can't play 2 teams directly in front of you in the race that you supposedly want to be in and come home having not had a tremendous time out there. That's how it is. And that's what I think we should expect. Let's shift gears and continue to look around Major League Baseball position by position. I want to start a new series on the show. And I'm going to bounce around every position around the diamond and just talk about how teams have handled the position group, not necessarily individual players, but how first base has performed for all these teams. That's the one we're going to start with first. I think it's going to be a fun thing to talk through, and we'll work our way around the diamond, and by the end of it, we'll see how we really feel about where the Pirates are in all this.
I was juggling a couple different apps the other day, and then I realized to myself, why don't I just use our friends at Clutch Parlays? Because that is their expertise. Instead of going to multiple different apps to check different injuries and betting lines, I can see it all in one with our friends at Clutch Parlays. And a little bit of bonus there is they give you data to back their bets. Maybe you want to do a double for a star player that night. They can give you the percentage of what they hit on for that exact bet. And that's why I love our friends at Clutch Parlays. But here's the offer for you. Find the best line and build smarter parlays. Track every bet and make more informed betting decisions, all with ClutchParlays.com. Right now, Clutch Parlays is offering a great deal for Locked On listeners. Your first month free on a monthly plan. They want to make sure that you get a real chance to try it out and see what it can do for you. Go to ClutchParlays.com today and use code Locked On to claim it. ClutchParlays.com. Bring together live odds, line shopping, predictions, bet tracking, analytics in one place so you can bet with more confidence.
Can we talk about one of the most underrated organs in your body? Your liver. If your body's filter, processing everything you consume and performing more than 500 functions every day. It's involved in things like energy production and digestion, fat metabolism, vitamin storage. So it's doing a lot of work behind the scenes. That's why giving your liver daily support can be an important part of building healthy habits. Dose Your Liver is a clinically backed liver health supplement designed to support daily liver function. Unlike another capsule or powder, Dose comes as a liquid 2-ounce daily shot that tastes like fresh squeezed orange juice. It's zero sugar, zero junk, zero calories, making it an easy addition to your daily routine. And honestly, that's what stood out for me most. My schedule was all over the place between work and podcasting, keeping up with the Pirates every day, and everything else life throws at you. The routines that actually stick are usually the simple ones. So I like the idea of Dose. It's just a quick 2-ounce shot. You don't have to remember a bunch of pills, mix powders, or add another complicated step to your day. It's easy enough to work into your morning routine and then move on with your day. Ready to give your liver the support it deserves? Head to dosedaily.co/LockedOnMLB or enter LockedOnMLB to get 35% off your first subscription. Your body does so much for you. Let's do something for it. That's dosedaily.co/LockedOnMLB for 35% off your first month subscription. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Let's talk first base a little bit. One thing I really like about looking at positions from a team perspective instead of focusing on individual players is that it kind of removes some of the noise. You don't talk about rest days and platoons and injuries and roster moves. The question becomes pretty simple. How much production is your organization getting from that position? And league-wide, first base remains one of the premium offensive positions. Teams are averaging roughly a 775 to 780 OPS from the position. The Pirates are currently sitting around 742, which places them approximately 18th in Major League Baseball. Slightly below average, not awful, not great, just below average. That's kind of interesting because the organization clearly identified first base as a weakness and made efforts to address it. The original vision looked pretty obvious. Ryan O'Hearn was brought in to provide legitimate middle-of-the-order production. They already had Spencer Horwitz, who was expected to bring elite on-base skills and a professional approach. Those two players really never got a whole lot of opportunity to overlap after the injuries really started. It felt like O'Hearn was out, then Horwitz was back, then O'Hearn was out again. And we never really got to see the original vision play out a whole heck of a lot. It kind of just became more about surviving than optimizing. We've seen Andy Rodriguez there. We've seen Rafael Flores there. Jared Triolo has spent time there. Jacob Gonzalez has appeared over there. Pirates have, basically been forced to treat first base kind of more like an emergency multi-purpose room where injuries started stacking up. And the positive, I guess, is that the position never really completely collapsed. Pirates avoided becoming one of those organizations that they usually are, getting almost no offensive production from first base. But they still haven't gotten the impact production that you generally want from the position. When you're looking up at teams like the Dodgers, the gap becomes pretty obvious. The first base situations in baseball can create separations all by themselves. Pirates got coverage. They wanted was impact, and those aren't really the same thing. And, a lot of Ryan O'Hearn's production happened as an outfielder. So, it's another reason why I really enjoy looking at it from a positional standpoint, because I believe part of the intention of bringing in Ryan O'Hearn was to really fortify first base. They believed in Spencer Horwitz, and they thought he could do a really good job there, but they really thought Ryan O'Hearn is more of a seasoned veteran, more of a sure thing, just in case last year was the top of the mountain for Spencer Horwitz. And, listen, injuries have led to what they have. There was a time when I was almost more excited for Spencer Horwitz to come up than anybody in the lineup. I felt better about him getting a hit in most situations than anyone. He has not been the same since coming back from the IL. I think we saw a little bit of a sluggish start from him even early on in the season. And when he came back from, the wrist and hand surgeries, I felt like he had a little bit of a sluggish start too. I'm not saying he didn't get his hits and whatnot, just not the impact that he was having there for that stretch this season. You know what I'm talking about. It was a little different. I just think it's fair to say they probably expected better results than what they've ultimately received for whatever reason that it's taken place. Again, this is meant to eliminate the whole thought process of injuries being part of it. You addressed it with a certain remedy. Did the remedy take? I think the answer is no. The remedy did not take. The positions definitely improved over last year. Thank goodness they fortified it the way they did. It felt ridiculous. It felt at one point like they've got about 5 guys who can play first base. What are we doing here? And man, they've really been tested with it. They've really been tested with the injury bug, and they've kind of needed the help. So looking back on it, it feels like they did enough, but it hasn't had the impact that it needed to have if this was going to truly be something that triggered that next level. And maybe that'll change as the season plays out and Ryan O'Hearn comes back, whenever that is, if that is. And, who knows? Maybe Spencer Horwitz will go on fire here to finish the last month and a half of the season. That sure would be welcome, because they really could use the punch that he was providing there for a while. Remember, this is a guy that was in the middle of this season, was in like a bat flip standoff with everybody else in the dugout, because he was doing it frequently enough to actually be kind of the architect of that sort of silliness. So I'd really like to see him, kind of take another step. But all in all, you feel okay about first base because these 2 players are locked up to return next year. And I think it's safe to say that the Pirates are starting to feel a little more confident with Rafael Flores, although he's not a whole lot better defensively there than he is at catcher. right yet. I think there's some work to do there with the young man on a lot of fronts to figure out what you can do with them. Defensively, we should touch on a little bit more. First base, you tend to, I don't know, overlook defense a little bit, not talk about it as much, kind of act like it's a position just about anybody can play. Couldn't be further from the truth. You can probably buy more outs at first base than you can at shortstop. You're kind of limited by physics at over at shortstop. At first base, if your footwork's good, you can save a half a beat. You can win by half a step. And if your footwork's bad, or you're not good at scooping, or you're not good at feeding the pitcher, or can't go to your right, can't protect the line, there's so many different ways that you can't be good at first base. I think the Pirates have two very, very good first basemen in Spencer Horwitz and Ryan O'Hearn. I wouldn't call them gold glovers, but I think they're both really, really good, solid, seasoned first basemen over there. I think Horwitz probably lets a few scoop opportunities go by that I think he should be able to get more than Ryan O'Hearn, but I think Spencer Horwitz gets to more balls than Ryan O'Hearn. I also think Ryan O'Hearn is guilty of the charge too far towards second base and leave your second baseman in no man's land, having to throw to a moving target because the pitcher's trying to cover. And more often than not, I think it creates a problem. He does that a little bit more than Horwitz, but overall, they're pretty good first basemen. They really are. All right, let's finish things up with your AMA questions. Got some coaching, accountability, and fan frustration stuff. Fan frustration? No, say it ain't so, Gary. That never happens. It's time for the Everyday Icon presented by Stance. As the official sock partner of Major League Baseball, Stance knows greatness isn't built in a single moment. It's earned over time through consistency and preparation and showing up every day. And that's why each week we're recognizing one player whose performance embodies those same qualities. This week's Everyday Icon is Braxton Ashcraft. The young right-hander has been everything the Pirates could ask for over his last two starts. Across 17 innings, Ashcraft has issued just one walk while continuing to pound the strike zone and trust his stuff. In a season where consistency has been hard to find at times, he's been giving the Pirates exactly that every time he takes the mound. What stands out most is the command. One walk in 17 innings tells you everything you need to know about how locked in he's been. He's attacking hitters, working efficiently, and putting his team in a position to win. That's why Braxton Ashcraft is this week's Everyday Icon. The Everyday Icon is presented by Stance. Check out the Icon collection from Stance. Premium comfort, performance, and durability designed for whatever your day brings. Use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for 20% off your purchase. Stance, the official sock partner of Major League Baseball. Learn more at stance.com. If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, then you know how tough it is to find the perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why the Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots treat your taste buds to an explosion of fruity flavor with a tasty caffeine kick. It's a quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. I've always been a sucker for those fruity candy flavors. The Fruity Rainbow Shot kind of reminds me of raiding the candy aisle as a kid, except this time I'm getting a boost of energy instead of a sugar crash. That's my favorite part about it. It's also zero sugar, which means I can scratch that sweet tooth itch without feeling like I'm overdoing it. And honestly, convenience matters too. It's small enough to throw in a bag, keep in a car, or have it handy at those long days when you just need a little extra energy to get through your schedule. It's become one of my go-to options when I have something sweet that I want and quick pick-me-up. Don't want to load up on a bunch of sugar. Get candy-flavored chaos with Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Hey, don't forget about the Everydayer Club. There's a link down in the show notes to the Supercast. It's a lot of fun. The Discord continues to grow. Lots of great Pirates discussions happening in there every day. In fact, as I'm recording right now, I'm looking at the Discord, and a brand new AMA question just popped in from Illogic that, man, it's going to make the show. I'm going to make the show because it's a damn good question. Let's start here. How can the Pirates improve the most? Like, what is the one thing they aren't coaching that they should be? Oh boy, I hate to say they're not coaching it. You know, you guys love that stuff. But I think situational hitting, I would really love to see this team have a better understanding of a two-strike approach, less of an all or nothing outlook on things, and more of a make contact and send the ball somewhere in play mentality. I'd really love to see them make that more of an art form. You know, keep the ball moving, keep the team moving. I think there's just far too many strikeouts. They have too much offensive talent to have to strike out this much to perform. It's just too much. They if they had a better two-strike approach, I'm not saying that they would score a ton more runs, but they would be a lot more consistent. I just feel like that's really what's next. Question number 2, Gary, will there finally be consequences for this team's performance? Sure there will, man. I mean, like, listen, there were consequences last year. You know, the thing is about consequences, define them. You want to fire Ben Cherington and Travis Williams and Don Kelly and start all over with all brand new coaches, you can do it. You can absolutely do it. Is that enough consequences, or are you just going to turn around and say Bob Nutting still owns the team, nothing's going to change? Probably. So what consequences do you want? Where does it end? I don't care about that. Like, the consequences aspect of it, you're never going to satisfy. I'm never going to see this team fire anybody and go, finally, he had it coming. You get what I mean? Like, it doesn't do any good for me. It doesn't make it any better or worse. I don't think it changes anything I've seen. In fact, you know, at this point, you know, you get a new GM, you're probably talking about someone who's going to want to implement their own vision, and that's cool. But visions often don't get implemented overnight. So I'm not looking forward to waiting either. Sure, there will be repercussions. There will be. Will they placate you and make you feel as though everybody that deserved consequences got them? I highly doubt it. Unless you're a lot more reasonable than most people. Question number 4. Why do you like the Pirates? I like the Pirates because I grew up a Pirates fan. That's the most obvious answer ever. But I also like the Pirates because I like the underdog story. I do. I like the underdog story. I loved that in the early 90s, my team very clearly did not have the team that most of the teams we were chasing did. We didn't have a whole lot of superstar power. Not really. Didn't feel that way when you were watching it anyway. As you look back, you go, oh man, Barry Bonds. But listen, Barry Bonds wasn't Barry Bonds yet. He was Barry Bonds. He was very good. Very good. But different. You know, it wasn't the legend yet. You know, it was early days. And Bobby Bowe was a lot of fun, but he was frustrating too. He frustrated himself so much he'd bash himself over the head with bats and whatnot. I love the Pirates because they're my team. I love the same reason I love the Penguins and the Steelers, no matter what. Like, I haven't enjoyed watching the Steelers for a few years now because honestly, I got tired of Mike Tomlin's message, and I got tired of really Mike Tomlin coached teams doing the same thing. And I got tired of Mike Sullivan coached teams with the Penguins. So even winning a championship doesn't spare you forever from feeling like, you know, you need some change. But that doesn't mean that I like abandon ship and hate them. They're my teams. I'm not even sure why it's my job to explain fandom to you. You're enough of a fan that you are here watching a show and asked a fan-driven podcast a question. So I think you already know because we're nuts. That's why. This is from my friend Illogic here. What have we learned so far about the roles of Jared Triolo and Jacob Gonzalez moving forward? When everyone is healthy, will there be room for both of them? Or are they competing for the same role? What will the team be looking at to making a decision about them going into next year? This is a brilliant question and probably deserves its own full topic as the week plays out next week. I think it has to be covered. I think you could make the case that they're definitely playing for the same position, or you could make the case that the Pirates willingly wasted 2 roster spots just about all season long on the 26-man roster, and they've got room to carry a couple guys like that. But the obvious answer is they still don't have a third baseman. So somebody's going to have to play third base. It's either going to be Nick Gonzalez, who hopefully would spend the entire offseason working his butt off to try to get better at it. Or he's going to slide over to second base, and then I think you're probably looking at Jared Triolo being the in-house candidate to start there, whether you want to hear that or not. And yes, they should go upgraded, of course, all that prerequisite stuff for you. And then you've got a backing of Murph Gray maybe pushing his way into the picture at some point. Jack Brannigan maybe in that picture at some point. If the Pirates ever let him touch a piece of wood once being called up to the majors, I don't know. But I think they could both probably survive the roster. It depends on really what they decide to do with Brandon Lau. Jacob Gonzalez is not a slouch of a prospect. There's a good chance that he's got a lot more power to offer than Nick Gonzalez ever does. He can play second base. He can also fill in admirably at shortstop, which I think they're going to need. You know, what have we learned so far this season at the very least? Well, so far, Connor Griffin is not made of, carbon steel. So chances are they need to get him off his feet sometimes. And Jacob Gonzalez can do that, I think, better than Jared Triolo can. I think we've seen that so far. He's a better shortstop. Not a perfect shortstop, but he's a better shortstop than Jared Triolo. Yeah, it's a brilliant question. I need to think on it more, but Illogic, you're thinking the right way, brother. You usually are. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of the Discord. People like that. So, yeah, deep stuff. I really do got to think about it a lot more. This is going to be a road trip that answers some questions one way or another, everybody. It really is. The Pirates can either force themselves back into the conversation or they can push us toward bigger discussions about the future. So I'll have a great weekend, and thank you for making Locked On Pirates your first listen every day. For your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB Game Night. I really think it's the best show on the network. I watch it every morning. It's my wake me up. It's what Baseball Tonight used to be, and I really love it. I'm Gary Morgan. This has been Locked On Pirates. We're serious about Pirates baseball because somebody has to be. Let's go Bucs.